let's get this show on the road here. You got to unmute yourself, Skip.
I'm here. I'm here.
All right, so we have a lot of people attending today. So hopefully I don't have too much hanging on my face here, any grossness going on, because there are a lot of you. And that's what the great part about webinars is. But at least we're in a society today that really has a lot of empathy around webinars and people not being dressed right, or like there being messes on your shirt, because everybody's been there at this point.
Yep.
So I'm Adam Walter, owner of Virtual C, and Skip and I founded HIT together to create an atmosphere where we can have better conversations with clients. And so I want to kind of give Skip the podium for a minute and ask him why, or what do we need to focus on in our annual agendas? Because that's the big topic of today. That's this webinar. We're going to teach you and walk you through how to have better conversations through annual agendas. And Skip has a great way of putting it as to what we need to focus on in our agendas and what not to focus on. So Skip, go ahead and give us the breakdown.
Uh-oh, you just put me on the spot. Okay. Well, it's actually really simple. It is a business focus. If you're having an annual conversation, these are bigger engagements, you definitely want the key stakeholders. You want the executive directors. You want the CEOs, the decision makers in your client's organization. You want them in these meetings. And if you get them, if you get their attention, if you get their time, don't mess it up. Don't talk about so many operational things that we know are important. I'm not minimizing their importance, but they have a time and a place, and it's not in the annual meeting. You need to be talking about what's going to make their business work better. Adam's got some great things he's going to cover today about how to specifically uncover those, and that's what we need to be following on. I've been challenged before. I was working with an owner of an MSP many years ago, and I was talking about what the VCIO process does, and I said, it helps make their company better. All right. And he asked by better, what do you mean? What's better? All right. And at the end of the day, better for, 99% of the organizations we're working with, better is more profitability, more revenue, and a greater margin in that revenue. And so we have to have conversations with our clients focused on those. If not, we're just going to regulate ourselves to the IT, Mr. Fix-It, the techie guys, and we're gonna battle pricing constantly, and we're going to have to deal with narrowing margins in our own product on a day-by-day basis. So it's time to get focused on business initiatives.
Yeah, and to go off of that, one of the things I want to show people is that if you're walking into an annual meeting and you're talking about operations, you're failing.
Yep.
I'm going to put that out there right now. If you're walking into an annual meeting with your clients and you're talking about operational items, and by operational items, I'm referring to fixing servers, upgrading, patching, ticket management, those things, those are all operations. That's day-to-day stuff. If you're talking about that stuff, you have lost your client and you're losing money. And people ask me all the time, well, how do I get a C-level in the meeting? Well, we'll talk about C-level things. And if you think a C-level thing is on which server I should buy next, I have much to teach you. Yep. So I routinely in my meetings with my clients have them bringing in their CEOs, bringing in their CFOs, like, oh, I don't know the answer to that. Let me bring in Bob. Let me bring in Alice. And they become a regular part of my meetings because we're talking about business objectives and we're talking about how to empower them. And I'm not going out and saying like, I'm going to solve your business problems. All I'm saying is, let's have a conversation about 2021, about what you want to accomplish, and we'll see if we can help you with technology to get there.
Yep. And so let me add a little bit to that. I say talking about business solutions. One of the things that I think we as maybe, and I keep talking about me. I mean, I have a lot of, MSP operational experience, a lot of engineering experience. So I keep talking from that perspective. And so Adam and I do this all the time. But, you know, when I say we sit down in front of our customers, sometimes we think we have to have all the answers. And let me liberate you again, I guess, if I can. You don't. I mean, we need to have business conversations, but I'm not expecting you. I'm not saying you have to show up with all the business solutions, the business acumen that, you know, this industry or this client may need. I'm saying you need to show up and talk about
Yep.
their business.
And
And
so
sometimes that's all you need to do.
So I'm going to show you guys here what we mean by this, like what some of the little tricks. Some of you got our free PDF as part of the sign up of this webinar. The rest of you will get it at the end via an email that will come out. But for those of you who are not Humanize IT subscribers, you'll get a free tool that kind of does everything we're talking about here today without any dynamic content or automated processes. It's a really nice PDF, a very nice tool that you should be able to use. But I'm going to teach you how to walk through this. And as part of this kind of segue we started with was how to have the big conversations when you're not a business professional. You guys are business professionals, whether you like it or not. You just have a focus on IT. That's okay. And you just got to own that. Like that is your silo. That is where you live. Now, some of you have gone out and gotten MBAs. Some of you have taken accounting. Maybe you have a background in business, and it helps you out. And with these conversations, with this process, we're going to show you for annual reviews, is it's going to solve all your problems with QBRs for the next year if you do this well. And there are standard things to ask, and there are standard forms to go through that make this really easy. So you can have a 60-minute session with your client that's going to allow you to knock it out of the park. So let's dive into this. Let me share my screen here. All right. So what you need to have, one of the core things that you need to have is you have to have an agenda. If you walk in there and you send me an agenda that says, we're going to talk about ticket review, we're going to talk about SLAs, we're going to talk about the projects we completed this year. Like, I'm an IT guy and I don't want to be in those meetings. Like, I was an IT manager 20 years. I don't want to be in those meetings. I didn't like presenting in those meetings, but my CIO, CEOs asked me, you need to talk about what you did this last year and give us your key metrics. And I was bored giving the presentation. So how does your client feel, these small, medium businesses feel when you walk in there and you're going to talk to them about technology? It's the same thing as if you want to change your oil and the guy changing your oil is explaining to you how your engine works and how everything in there is going and the kind of oil and viscosity is. No, just change my oil while I check my email over here. I just want to know it's taken care of. Now, if there's a big decision on like, hey, your car, you need to trade it in. Now that I want to know, let me make the big decisions. Do I need to change something out? Is there something important I need to know? Focus on that. But if you spend an hour explaining to me how my car works and what's going on and how quickly you can change my oil, I don't care. I only care about the big decisions. And you want to do the same thing with your clients, which will help you result in bigger revenues. Sometimes people ask me about VCIOs and their annual reviews and their QBRs. And I say, you would be better off putting a really good salesperson who's really good with people in front of this audience than putting a technical engineer in front of them. Because you want to have the big conversations. So in our report, so this is one of the HIT reports. This is the only one we show our clients. And what we have is like the annual planning process. And this is where you need to think about your own MSP and what you can strip out. Your client does not care about the second option here. Anybody can fix their technology. This is where you're getting into the low bid game. Everybody seems to focus on step 2. The most important step is 1, getting to know the business. You're wooing them. You're learning about them. What are they doing? How are they running things? You're going to do this and this invisibly. They should not see you do these 2 things. These should happen in the background. When I get my oil changed, I am there, but I don't need to be present as they're changing the oil. These 2 things happen visibly. You're taking these off their hands. This is why they're hiring you. They don't want to do it. So they're hiring you to take care of this stuff for them. So make this seamless and in the background. The touch points with your clients are business alignments and roadmap adjustment. And I'll show you what I mean by this. So every year you go through the same cycle. Now with your small clients, you're going to go through this maybe every 3 years, because honestly, their portfolio does not change that much and they don't have a lot of money to spend, but you can come up with a 3-year plan based on this. It's not that far of a reach to turn this into a 3-year plan. So we're going to focus on your class A, class B clients, where you want to do a business alignment. You want to do a project list for them every year. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have a business alignment session with them. Then you're going to go and update your inventory, check the licensing they have, and do all that stuff in the background. And you're going to come back for a second meeting where you're going to show them the projects that are going to empower their company based upon what they told you here. And I have some great examples we'll run you through.
Adam, yeah, let me jump in here right quick. So what we're talking about here are key principles, and these are really important items. You have to do these. But I know you said when you look at this and you're running through your list, all right? Everyone's always got that list of clients in their head, right? And you're, it's like some sort of algorithm. You're kind of instantly matching this up to see how this works. Let me set the expectations here too. What's important here and what we're going to have to do, that doesn't change. The cadence changes. All right. We have clients that we're going to meet with more often versus some that we're going to meet with a whole lot less. There's a lot of factors that go in that. The top one's probably price. I mean, if you've got a really small company, they're paying you $900 a month, at the end of the day, there's not a lot of time and profitability built into that contract to meet with them every week. All right. So that's okay. We can back that off. The cadence changes. These principles don't.
Yeah. So these are just, when you look at this in your own MSP, even if you're not an HIT member, you look at this and you say 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the 4 things you need to do with a client to be successful. Now that can be like a little gimmick I can put out there. If you're doing these 4 things, you're failing. No, this is a framework for you to think about. Did I do a tech audit this year? Probably, because you enjoy them. You're in the tech industry. You know how to do these things. You can do them with your eyes closed. Did you talk to them about what major projects are coming up with them next year? I can guarantee you a lot of you are going, yeah, I probably should do that. Did you set down a roadmap saying over the next 12 months, here's what we're going to do for you? Probably. I mean, that's how you get your contracts, right? And then augment the business plan. So this is where your QBRs live. So you're running the plan, and then quarterly or every once in a while, you're going to call up and say, hey, we need to adjust some schedules here because some minor virus hit just kidding. So a giant pandemic hit and affected everyone, and we gotta adapt. That's what this is. Augment your business via the approved plan, and then adjust it over time. So for your first meeting here, this business alignment is where a lot of you struggle. How do I get the CEO in there? How do I get that to be a dynamic meeting? And if you do these right, you should generate a lot of extra revenue with your very first meeting. There are people on this call I know for a fact that have generated $10,000 in a meeting just because they changed the conversation. So we scroll down here, and what I have here is a very simple little spot. The agenda. This is stupid simple. The reason it's like this is because I can put this in an Outlook calendar entry. Now, your client knows what you're going to talk about. Major business projects for 2021. Ooh, I should probably get Bob in on this meeting. This is where you're enticing. You're putting that carrot in front of the managers and the key stakeholders of this company to come to this meeting, because this is not just another tech review. This is, hey, this last year sucked, guys. Let's talk about how we can augment. This is our world. You guys are all technology professionals. Triage is your world. There are very few other engineering professions or just business professions that love triage as much as we do. Mm-hmm. And so you are naturally good at this. You stick you in a room with a black box, you guys are going to figure it out. Or your engineers are going to figure it out. This is what we do. So getting this business meeting going where you're asking different questions. Let your analytical mind run rampant during this session, but be quiet and listen to what the business is saying. The opportunity to solve their problems will happen in the next session. And this one, you're going to ask things like, some of you are very familiar with this. What went well? In the pandemic, what went well with you guys? You know what? Our employees were very adaptive. They kept their heads up. They didn't complain too much. We already had laptops deployed, so we were able to send people home. And then what did not go well? Well, we didn't have Zoom licenses for everyone, or we didn't have Hangouts set up, or whatever your collaboration software wasn't quite, people weren't familiar with it. So we had to kind of one-on-one train people how to do different things. Microsoft Teams just wasn't there yet. And it's not because of your fault as an MSP. It's just the business didn't have a need to adapt to Microsoft Teams because they were too small, or because they had better projects going on. Well, okay, that's something that did not go well. Maybe opportunities for improvement. We would really like to be more dynamic in our work at home workforce. Things that are not going well is it's hard to reach each other. It's hard to do this. And so in the back of your guys' minds, you're creating a list of technologies that can solve these problems that are coming up. They're talking to you about how it's hard to get their students at the school to maintain focus during the day because the connection keeps dropping. Well, you as an engineer already have a solution for that. And they're talking about like, well, it's hard to, people aren't comfortable at home. Like, okay, you've got solutions for that. And you keeping these down, write them down on a piece of paper, put them in the notes section over here and talk it through. But this is the simple meeting agenda, because you're going through this and these are the big three questions. What went well? What did not go well? And what opportunities for improvement do we have?
Yeah, and let me add a little bit, Adam, again, kind of coming at it, Adam hit the nail on the head a few minutes ago. He said, the people that can drive these really well may not be your engineering types, okay? And I can relate to that. So as I changed in my profession, as I moved, I realized my skill set had to change, and my engineering skills weren't the best ones for these sort of meetings. All right. Because I wanted to drive those questions. I wanted to lead that conversation. But if you're sitting there and you're going, what went well? All right. That's not something that you're going to answer. All right. That is clearly a question you're going to ask of your client, and you're going to let them talk. They're going to provide all the information. What did not go well? You might have an opinion on that, but let's be honest. Your opinion in this business context is not that important. All right. You need to understand what your client thought didn't go well or did go well. And I know it's really hard for us. Adam sent me something the other day, and I was on a call, and I said, all right, I'm going to take that to heart, because basically the comment was, I need to shut up and I need to listen to my client, and I have to remind myself of this.
We both like to talk too much. Let's just put it out there.
We do. So, but in specifically that one call, it was top of mind. This is kind of odd to say, but it was top of mind for me to shut up. All right. But the outcome of that call was fantastic, because my client that I'm talking to just gave me tons of information, and I didn't have to go digging for it. I didn't have to ask these specific questions. If we set the right context, if we provide the right environment, we're going to get a lot of information.
Yeah. And that's where this next part here comes in. This major business projects in 2021 will get your clients talking. So I gave that whole 15 minutes as part of your annual agenda. You're taking notes this whole time. You're filling out this section here. You're clicking in here and you're adding as much crap as you can about what you're learning here and things that you think you should be doing. Maybe you write it on paper. Whatever works for you, just do it. And you're going to fill this out with, next year, maybe they're going to close the brick and mortar and they're going to go completely virtual. Okay, when are they going to do that? Maybe they're going to do a big product push in April next year. You know what? Maybe you should close your change windows for April and not put in that new firewall in the middle of their product push. So these are all things that you just want to know. They may have nothing to do with technology, But the fact that you know that there's going to be stress in their environment during this quarter or during this month means that you can plan your projects during a different time. And so this is all just that first meeting, that annual agenda you can have during a Zoom meeting just like this. And you can talk back and forth with them and listen to them tell you the story of their business. Listen to them vent about this past year, whether they're venting about politics or venting about the work at home and the fact that our dog's always barking during meetings and whatever. Listen and learn about what their stress points are, because if you can reduce your client's stress, they will pay you more money. They don't care that you're going to give them a new firewall. What they care about is now their connections aren't going to drop so much during their Zoom sessions. And that's going to be a big problem here in about 3 months when everybody starts coming back on site in full force. What happens when you have 2 meg connections and you have 50 employees and everybody's meeting via Zoom? Yeah. So you're going to reduce these pain points for them. And every time you reduce a pain point, you sell better. You're solving a problem. And so that's what we want to do. And we come in after this meeting is right at the end. Sorry, I'm just getting ahead of myself here. Is you're going to schedule a week out from like, hey, you know what? Great information today. I need some time to process this. I also need to look and see where your technology is. So can we meet again in a week, and I'll show you like the agenda for 2021. I'll show you what I recommend for 2021. I'll have my team work on it, come with a project proposal for you, and we'll come back in. Traditionally, this is all I see people do, is just this report delivery. What we're doing here with this session is we're gathering as much information about the business as possible so that our technology roadmap looks that much sexier. And so after you have scheduled this, you're going to walk away and then you're going to do your tech audits. You're going to look and see how many licenses for Exchange they need, how many licenses for Office 365, what kind of life cycles they have for their PCs and servers, and you're going to do all that stuff in the background. You're just going to get it done without their intervention, unless it's a highly regulated industry and they need intervention. But you want to do this as transparently as possible. You're going to make magic happen.
And this is a really good time to leverage your unique organization. Okay, so we know a lot of MSPs. They're small shops, but the larger shops as well. By taking this in a 2-step process, you build in the capability for you to leverage your own internal experts. All right, maybe you've got a business person who can really translate all this. Maybe you need that really deep dive technical work done on their firewall with the engineer that you would never want to be client facing, but you need that resource out of it. Maybe you just need time to put together some sales numbers. All right, however you do that, you don't have to put all of this in on one person. All right, I think that's one of the key elements in these VCIO type services, is to not expect this is all going to be driven by one specific individual. All right, we're going to leverage your team. Whatever your team looks like, we're going to leverage those resources, and this gives us the time to do that and do it well.
Yeah. So while Skip is talking there, like I'm going through my technology assessment here, and you guys are not having to worry about what I am doing over here. Skip can talk to you about the business, and he is continuing to build a relationship with you. And I, as the engineer, am sitting back here filling out a tech assessment. Whatever your tech assessment is, just do it. And at the end, you have this assessment done, and you can come back into your QBR, or not your QBR, your annual business review, and you've done a cybersecurity assessment, you've done a services assessment, you've done a technology assessment, and all of a sudden you come back on site with the client and you do a report delivery. And you saw my agenda there. Oops, grabbed the wrong one. That's my QBR. Sorry, guys. And you come on site again and you have this simple agenda. All we're going to talk about is, hey, we went back and we analyzed your technology portfolio, And we came up with kind of an executive summary of like what we think would benefit you guys next year. You want to move to distributed workforce. You had a lot of pain points behind drop connections and licensing with your streaming apps and your collaboration apps. Here's how we're going to solve the problem. When we audited you, we found out that you're kind of underserved for a remote workforce. So we're going to get you back up to like a 90 so that we're making sure that your laptops are managed and that your connections are all managed and ready to go. And so you're going to tell them a story about how you're solving this problem in an executive summary, a little 3-paragraph format, something you learned in high school. This needs to be read in less than a minute. This is your C-levels are going to read this. They're going to take this to their board, and this is how they're going to get justification for your project schedule.
And now
this is what they're going to give to their CEOs and their boards.
Yeah, this is opposite of kind of the mindset we've had in the past. I mean, sometimes we've looked to, drop a bigger report, something, the little paper clip or, stapled report wasn't enough. We needed a 3-ring binder.
A 3-ring binder. And then if you come in with a 3-ring binder and I'm sitting at the table evaluating, I'm going to tell you, you just dropped in my evaluation.
How many times have we done that though? I mean, we've sent out to Kinko's and had it, colored and, this nice presentation so we could slide this stack of paper across the table. And that just hasn't worked out well for us. I mean, to be honest, we can look at that. Yeah, we haven't, knocked it out of the park with these big presentations. These short summaries, these are gold. Yes. These are what drives the conversation. This is what drives our business.
And so when you've got everything done, note that we did maybe a couple hours of work back here, and it's being distilled down to these bars. And you're going to want to so bad tell your clients about these things that you've done. You're going to want to tell them so bad about this new service that you have available. You're going to want to tell them about all this stuff, but really all they care about is this overview. And so when you've built the executive summary, it can be anybody in your organization, whoever's good with words, have them type this up to explain the results of the audits in a business function. And so what I like to include in reports and in the templates that you guys have is this, and this is to help your engineers think in terms of business function. So when this comes out, that they're not talking about speeds and feeds, they're talking about, okay, you want to replace that server? Justify it to me. How is this going to make their business richer? Answer these questions here. This is going to make your business more successful. You're going to sell projects faster. I have done this multiple times where I've taken a client who was spending $1,500 a month and turned them into an $8,500 a month client because they knew that $8,500 was helping them enrich their company and increase profits. These answers to these questions will do that. You don't have to be a business person, but you do need to be able to answer these questions for every major project you do for a client, which is why I put this little cute little fun thing in here before I talk about roadmaps. Here's my project roadmap. This roadmap is reflected in these scores. If they accept this roadmap from me, if they pay the $3,800 a month for this roadmap, they will score this by the end of next year. And I will solve these problems for them. All they have to do is give me the monthly fee and they get this entire roadmap. Here's where we're going to put things. And if for some reason something they can't afford this year, they can always schedule it out for let's put that in 2022's project list. Let's give them the next one. What are we doing here? This is part of the NIST assessment. There was a cybersecurity vulnerability. We're going to talk about adding MFA to firewalls. And then we're going to talk about adding redundant firewalls. And then we're going to talk about adding IPS. The client doesn't care. They just know that it's going to cost $10,000 for the IPS appliance. And they don't have that this year. So put it on 2022. Now you won't forget it. And your client feels much more comfortable with the fact that they're getting what you're telling them to. It's starting to roll. All they have to do is just pay your monthly fee. And these are all the things that they're getting. You have broken down and made it simple. This overview of functions in here is telling them, I'm solving the business problems we talked about last week. the things that we're causing pain for your employees, we can solve that problem for $8,800 a month for whatever the pricing is. And if they say that's too much, you can always simplify and spread out your projects over a longer period of time and ramp them up to that. And then every year you're going to come back in and you're going to reevaluate this.
Yep. These project roadmaps, this is kind of a longer discussion, so I won't go into it in too much detail, but to boil it all down, these project roadmaps, following this process and then ending up with, this is kind of your operational page or your operational screen here. Running with these roadmaps will really, really help you manage your revenue. And when I say manage your revenue, there's two elements. One, we want more of it, right? So more revenue is always good. But two, we need that revenue to be more consistent. I mean, that's why we got into this MSP model in the first place, right? We were tired of billing a bunch of hours this and not 1 month and a whole bunch the next month. And so we got into these contracts and now we have this consistent monthly billing, right? Your projects can follow a very, very similar consistent income level if you manage them properly. Right now, I know for a fact, many of you, your project revenue, if you took you plotted that out on a line and then you flipped it horizontally and tried to follow it, it'd be like a tennis match. Right? It's from one side to the other, up and down. I mean, it's just back and forth. You guys are giving yourself whiplash managing your project revenue. Let's turn this around. Let's get a nice, steady line, and we can do that with the project roadmaps. So anyway, I said more than I wanted to, but because it can be a longer discussion, but that is one of the huge elements that can help your organization is to get that roadmap out there and manage that on a consistent basis. It also makes those projects a lot easier to bill for.
This is why we have our podcast, Skip, so we can get all of our words out.
That's it.
Explanations are always longer than they should be. Like, okay, let's do a podcast. That way we can get our words out every year. And we love to talk, we love to present, and the idea is to present the right stuff, to have a framework to present the right stuff. So if any of you guys are agile lovers out there, most of what we do at Humanize IT and at Virtual C is based on the agile framework. And when you have that agile framework, it's a set of core tenets. And they're not telling you how to do business. They're making suggestions for like how to adapt what you already do and move into like sprint cycles and prioritize the right things. That's all we're doing here is we're making things simple. So if you need to do a services assessment, if you need to do an infrastructure assessment, do these on an annual basis, but don't make them so complicated and overriding the conversations with your clients that they become the main thing. And that's part of why a lot of you fail is because you're making this cybersecurity assessment the main thing. You're making the services assessment the main thing. Instead, it should be strategy. It should be this focus on what is it that you are delivering to your clients. And if you read enough business strategy books, you'll boil down to what really matters in business: making money. Your clients are just like you. They want to make money. They want to be successful. And if you come in there as a business and tell them about all the things that are going wrong and all this money they need to spend, that's not going to help them, you're just going to make them drink more. It's like when your accountant comes in and tells you all the things that are going wrong with finance right now, and you're like, oh, how do I fix that? Well, and then you learn that your bottom line has to take a hit. You don't want to be that. You're IT. You guys are augmenters. And we want to have that be this executive summary that you're doing should distill down and say, this is why our technology and our services are going to make you rich. And that's why I also include at the end of everything I have is this Eisenhower matrix. It's a very old tool. And this is something you should be doing at the end of every session to talk about what are we doing and put it into context. Because you walk into a meeting and your client wants everything done right now. So you go back and you tell your engineers to do everything right now. And then they're being told by 20 other clients to do everything right now. And then so you just keep jumping from task to task to task to task. Your annual meeting is to make that stop. If you hate being in firefighting mode, do this. Have an annual meeting where you plan out the next year. And it doesn't take that much time. And it saves you a ton of time. If you are lining up your next year, you don't have to have a big old Gantt chart. You just need to have a basic conversation with a minor little roadmap here that gives you some guidance. And you can let your service manager decide when a busy month is like, we have too much going on in December. We really need to move some of these projects. Then do that. Then your next QBR, tell your client, hey, we had to move this project because, or ask them, is it okay we move this project? And then you can just move it. And now your engineers aren't as stressed. And we know to move things based upon this matrice. So your QBRs just become a basic, do we need to move anything around? Load up your project list. Let's talk about what we need to do. What's coming up this quarter? Now you don't have to plan your QBRs anymore, people. You're going to walk in with your annual report that you made in December and November of last year, and you're just going to review it. That becomes your QBR now. It's that simple. You don't have to come up with a big project proposal every quarter. You just have to run the roadmap that you developed and that they agreed upon in December. And now you're just saying, hey, can we move this around? Can we move that around? You're asking them business decisions. Do we need to adapt anything? Is there anything coming up this next quarter that we can really help out with? And now you're using that agile process to, within the sprint cycle, which is a quarter in your bigger clients' case, how do I adjust this? They don't care how you're fixing things on the back end. They don't care about the patching cycles. They don't care about your ticket loads. What they care about is, are you supporting their businesses? Are you moving them forward? That's what your QBRs are now. So you can always move things around on your roadmap easily if you go, all right, we're scheduling this. All right, schedule it out. All right, it's planned. We are good to have a new firewall next February. All right, is there something that need to be done now? These are all things like I will call somebody after this meeting and I will have them do it. I will set this for this month. If it's not important, you know what? I'm going to send this over to another team. They're going to figure out when to do it. They'll come back to us. But if it's up in this blue section, you're talking about it in this meeting. That is how you determine things. And then you add notes down here. Let them see you taking notes so they feel heard. This is how you create the relationship. This is how you create stickiness with clients. And all this is happening once a year for your big clients, once every 3 years for your small clients. You'll have to determine what the best cadence is for your clients. How often do you want to know things are going wrong? The annual assessment will feed every QBR you do with a client. Every time you talk to them, you will bring this assessment up. If you bring up tickets and how fast things are closing, you have already lost. So for those of you with the PDF handout or who don't have the PDF handout, this is kind of what it looks like. It's exactly what I'm showing on the screen. It's just a dark mode. You don't get any of the dynamic information. It's all static, but you can edit this stuff. And the goal is every time you come in or when you do your Zoom meetings, which is because since we're not going on site right now, and you're putting this into the background, you hit your F11 and now it looks nice and it's behind me. For those of you guys who have a fancy setup like me, and this really makes your client feel professional. You're not going through a slideshow. We're talking about this stuff. What did your techs find out? And add in like the inventory was messed up. You can talk about whatever it is, but then you'll notice that at the end of my report, I have the executive summary, project recommendations. These are the 4 main projects you're going to have with this client. And then down here, what are the action items? I always end with action items. That is the most important thing, because if you're in a meeting with somebody, you will attract the C-levels and the key stakeholders if they feel like they had a purpose in being there, if decisions were made during that meeting. And so down here, Bob will go back to legal and get approval for the roadmap. Maybe you guys increase the monthly fee by $300. So they need to go back accounting and make sure they get approval for that extra spend every month. because they're really on board with this roadmap. They really want this at-home setup to work much better, and they know that that roadmap that you gave them is going to take them there. Oop, I lost my screen.
Adam, let me say something about those projects and what you've got on there. You know, I really like what we've got here, and for you guys on the call that aren't HIT members, let me challenge you. Take that PDF, run with it in your very next meeting. All right, I think you'll see how successful that can be. And here's the trick. I'm gonna go ahead and give away you know, some of the special sauce on this. Those projects that Adam had listed there, project 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, name those business initiatives. All right, if you're upgrading their servers, don't put server upgrade in there. That's because that's really not what you're doing for the client, right? You're enabling the new accounts receivable software. I mean, that's the project that you're doing. All right. That's what the client's thinking about, accounts receivable. They don't care that we've got, you know, an ML whatever server that's, you know, a G8 and we've got to get it, you know, up to a new version. That's not top of mind for them. What's top of mind for them is the business initiatives that they're solving. So name those projects business initiatives, and I guarantee you sit down and you're going to see an amazing bit of traction with your clients, and you're going to have the opportunity to close a lot more business just using that PDF. There's more to it than that, but just using that, you'll see tremendous success.
I mean, yeah, you'll see me, like, I've renamed some of these, like, just fun. Just like, unicorns are awesome. I just wanted to show a client the point that I can name this whatever I want. And all it was is implement Office 365 based email management. Okay, client, they're not going to buy into that, but I can rename this check email anywhere. But if they, you know, if their complaint was that email wasn't available for everyone, this used to be a big complaint, just showing my age there. Back when OWA first became a thing, people were like, oh my gosh, I don't have to have my laptop to check email. This is amazing. But, you know, renaming these things that your clients can understand really is a nice secret sauce tip. So when they come up here and you have this strategy meeting and they talk about a pain point that they had of something that did not go well, if one of these items in your project roadmap solves one of those problems, rename it. Right there, rename it, so that when you're coming into your QBR and it's now third quarter of 2021, you can say, oh, yeah, this month that problem goes away. And so they don't know all the details of how you got there. They don't need to know what happens with installing a new firewall, but they need to know that, hey, they're spending $5,500 on this new FortiGate, and it's going to solve this problem for them. Once that firewall is in place, they will now be able to do what? And that will sell things faster. It will get them to buy in, because we all want to hear that as business owners. I want to hear that. I want you to come into me and say, Adam, if you just do this thing, I'll take care of it. And you'll now be able to do what? So some of you are looking at my screen right now and going, how is he doing that? How is he sitting in front of his own monitor live streaming this? You know what? I've had so many people ask me that. Like, I've thought about starting a sub business of doing consulting on how to do live streaming. And so I can say, like, oh, for $500, I'll teach you how to do this. Cool. Now I look better to my clients and I can increase revenues. I now can do something cool and new. That is the importance of what Skip is saying here, is rename these things to the thing that's going to solve the problem, or at least, you know, come in here and in the deliverable, you know, say, you know, work at home. When they have this particular service going, put the solution down there so you can keep track of it. So if you're in a QBR and they're wondering, what is this? You click down like, oh yeah, remember how you wanted people to be able to call from home to get support on their computers? That's what this is. Oh, okay. Done. You don't have to scratch your head and think, I don't remember why we were doing that. You can take your notes right here. So one of the advantages of using the MSPL platform is the fact that we can add dynamic data in here and it gets tracked for us. So in 2022, when I load up a new QBR or a new annual business review, I can show what we did last year. I can go back and I can show the year in review if I really want to. And I can show what's coming up. Hey, you know what? Fourth quarter next year, we're going to be focusing on those end user support project. We're going to be getting those managed laptops coming in so that the people at home aren't working on really old equipment. They're working on equipment that is relevant to them.
Now, another thing here, and this is kind of part of the bigger ecosystem, if you're managing these projects well, and these projects are getting put on the roadmap as a result of your analysis with them, we have this interesting dynamic. So as you begin working with your clients, and Adam was showing this earlier, these scores, as we complete these projects, the scores change. And so now we have this simple tool so that the client can see in a simple number, in a simple scoring graph, the work that you're doing for them. This is a way for you to show value. You know, I've mentioned this before. I've seen a few people, they use the project roadmaps, but they don't tie their projects to the assessments. So the client may spend, tens of hundreds of $1,000s even with them over a year, and they don't move the needle. They don't change the score. And it may sound kind of a simple deal, but those scores and those scoring graphs can be really, really powerful with your clients. So this is a great opportunity for you to provide some basic feedback with your clients so they can really see, hey, we're doing these projects. They're business focused, right? Because we've gone in there, we've discovered the need, we've got, the right context and the name even to call them about. So we're doing these projects, and as we do them, we see a change in our score. We can see progress over time. Now we've, really adding fuel to the fire, so to speak, and developing this relationship with our client. Things aren't on the back burner. We're not just working tickets. We're actually getting things done with the clients.
So if you are here's the kind of we wrapping up here. You can see in the chat I put both the PDF that I was showing you, that dark mode PDF that you can get, and then also the HIT software that we're using today. Is that you're taking what you guys do really well and you're abstracting it out so you can have meaningful conversations. And this really has a high impact on smaller MSPs, where you are maybe like a 5-10 man shop and you're doing all these hats and you don't have time to build these reports. You don't have time to do all this stuff. But the thing about you guys who are smaller is you're way more agile. So this workforce that's shifting, they're going to be taking all their servers and their PCs and get rid of them in lieu of a work at home workforce. You're on the cutting edge. You're going to adapt really quickly, and you're going to be able to listen to your clients and use forms like this to show your clients that you are adapting already. Whereas, as a larger MSP, you're focused a lot on operations, you're focused a lot on keeping costs low and servicing really well to large organizations. Those of you in the smaller MSP shops are focused on that high level service, that high level capability and that alignment. This is going to help you track all that with all your clients and show them that you're not just operational, that you're going to help them survive during this economic crisis we're in, that you're going to adapt with them. And that is what we want to do, is we don't want to talk to them about technology. We want to talk to our clients about the problems they're having. We want to quantify in a nice way that we can work through with a project roadmap next year. And your client's only decision is, do they have it in the budget to do this? And if they don't, you can always move things around so it's a little bit easier. You don't have, the $5,000 a month right now. How about we start you off one of the simplified plan? We'll move some of these projects over to the next year. And we'll talk about this at the next annual review.
And this works really, really. So I'm a lousy salesman. Okay.
Yeah,
and
me too.
So I get in front of clients, and they need to do this, but I'm definitely not a pushy salesman. So, I lay it out there and they're like, hey, yeah, I don't know. For me, I go, no problem. We'll put it on the calendar. And it's there, and we can begin talking about it, and we work it. And so here's here's where our experience has proven things out is if we put those things in the calendar, many times they get done before the calendar date. But by virtue of them just being on the calendar, being out there visible and discussed, as we sit down in another quarterly meeting, you may have put something out there for a year in advance, but you sit down in a quarterly meeting, you give everyone the opportunity to wrap that up, and the clients look at that and go, I know we've got that scheduled for next year, but I'm thinking this is getting really important. And could we move that up by 6 months or something? You don't have to do anything. All you do is move it up. And I know some of you may be thinking, yeah, that's great, but I need to make sales right now. Yes, that's true. But if you go through and you start doing this with all of your clients, you build up this this funnel of projects, and all of a sudden these things start falling. They
Yep.
begin coming online, and you get yourself out of this, oh, I've got to sell something right now, into, wow, I've got all these things coming down the pipe that I need to take care of. You switch your problems, all right? And one of them is a whole lot better than the other, right? Trying to have to sell something versus trying to deal with all the things that are selling themselves is a much better place to be.
Yeah. So just to kind of wrap up here, and please ask questions. You guys got 7 minutes left to ask me questions. I can definitely fill the time. So can Skip. You can always check our podcast out. We have great tips there on exactly on these topics. It's always relevant. It comes out every Monday, and it's got quite the following right now. I don't know why. Evidently, we're somewhat entertaining, Skip. And we talk through how to have business conversations as IT professionals. And we talk to CEOs. We talk to people around the world and what technology is doing and how businesses are struggling with problems. I think the one coming up this Monday is crystal balls. What does 2021 look like? And it's three of us just sitting there, just trying to figure out, given our 25 years each in the industry, what do we expect during these really high times, and what is it we're looking forward to? So, check out things like that and get yourself involved and change the way you're speaking to your clients. And if you don't have any cash right now to buy into our monthly subscription for us to do this all for you, get that PDF. I sent you the link in the chat, and let us show you. Just take that PDF, fill it out for one of your clients. And if you don't generate more revenue, well, I don't know what to say, but maybe we're not a good fit. But the point is that when people follow through on the better conversations, they notice a difference in their client's behavior right away. There is no 300-step process. There is no, you need to get all your ducks in a row first. It's simply present to your client that you care. Here is how you do it. Hire a new employee, have them follow through with this process, and it will change your client relationships for the better. It will show them that you are more than just a janitor in a closet fixing things, that you actually can help them with this distributed workforce problem, with this students at home in schools problem. You are there. You can help solve this stuff, and they'll start coming to you more often. They'll may even ask you to come into board meetings and present this to the board. That's why the executive summary is there. It's really important that you have that, because then your clients are selling for you. They're taking it to the board, taking the CEO, saying, look, if we simply subscribe to this, our MSP's project roadmap, all these problems go away. And they're going to do it in the background. So your technology operations happens in the background magically because you guys kick ass at what you do. The front end with the client is simply solving business problems. That is how I'm going to distill it for you, and I'm going to break it down. Big conversations happen in person. Operations happen invisibly. That is the way it should work, and that's the way you always want it to work. You don't need to know everything that's going on under the hood. Some of your clients do. Some of your clients love hearing about what's going on under the hood. Feel free to nerd out with them, but do it after the meeting. Do it at other times. During this meeting, it's business. That's why you're sending out the agenda a day in advance. You're setting the tone for the session. And if there's anything else that needs to come on during the session, then you add it to the agenda. If they get in the middle of the conversation and they interject that they want to talk about these 6 things, you say, you know what, we'll talk about those at the end. I'm going to follow through with the agenda right now. That sounds harsh, but it works. All of a sudden, they respect you. All of a sudden, this was a person who has their stuff together. Now they're going to treat you seriously. When you tell them that this stuff is going to fix their problems in their business that you talked about a week ago, now they're listening. Now they're willing to give you more money because they trust you. And every year you come in and some of those projects, as Skip said, they've been pushed out to the next year, then they're going to show up. Oh yeah, I forgot we talked about that last year. We definitely need to do that. And with our software that we use, these are all populated by the engineers when they fill out their audits. This roadmap magically appeared here for me. I did not have to do it. So while Skip was talking, you saw me filling out some of those forms. And as I have project recommendations from that technology audit, they pop into here. And then I have to decide which ones does my client want to do? And we just talk about it. But we're doing it in context. And that is what matters. Everything in context. Treat your clients how you want to be treated. Show them how you'll make them money. Show them how you'll solve their business problems with technology solutions.
Yeah, let me comment on that. So in context, I mean, this, you may really need to change the way you're thinking about some things. So this came up the other day in one of our conversations, was uptime. You know, uptime's an industry number, right? How many? You got, 3 nines, 4 nines, 5 nines, and that's something we understand. We know what it takes. We've got the calculator that, puts all that out. But at the end of the day, does it really matter to your clients? I mean, what if your uptime for that client is a big 5.0, right? What if it's only available half the time, but it's always available when they need it? And that simple change of what is important to the client, what drives their business. If you're driving, 5, 6 nines worth of uptime in a solution that doesn't solve their business needs, that's no value for them. All right. But if you're driving uptime when they need it for a solution they need, you could have that thing down, for hours on end every single day. And they'd be just happy with that. So it's the context.
The flip side is true. If you're kicking ass at tickets and everything like that, but you're not meeting your clients' needs, you will lose them. And you won't even know why. They'll walk out the door because somebody promised them to solve the problem that you wouldn't.
Or offer it for $2 less.
Yep, they might do. Then it becomes a low cost game. But if you're showing them that you're augmenting their business and taking care of them, they'll be willing to spend more with you because you're helping them. So I just want to conclude here. Feel free to reach out to our podcast, listen to it, enjoy telling your teams about it, have them listen to it so it'll change their conversations. That's free. Use the PDF download I put there. We put a lot of work into that. We paid a lot of money to have somebody build that for us so that you could have it. That is free. Let us show you that this process works. Now imagine if you can use a simple PDF, how much better would it be if you had a dynamic solution that pre-populated all your roadmaps and abstracted your engineers from the conversations with your clients so you can simply sell them solutions? How much more is that worth to you? And how can we help you do that today? An email will be coming out to all of you shortly about how to sign up for HIT, how to download the PDF, and how to access our podcast. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us at coaching@virtualc.biz, and we will happily answer anything that you're struggling with right now. We really want to help as many of you as possible through this struggling time. But in the meantime, reach out with questions, and we will provide you with answers.
Absolutely. We love talking to you guys. So please grab some time on our calendars. Really would love to dive into any details you would like to talk about.
All right. Have a great week, people.